Hello, I'm Tamara Schwager. I'm a clinical supervisor in the School Services Department here at OMETS. Today, I'm joined by world-renowned youth advocate, motivational speaker, producer, and social entrepreneur, Shane Feldman. Shane is the CEO of Count Me In, the world's largest youth-run organization, which has impacted the lives of over 10 million youth in over 100 countries. Thank you for joining us, Shane.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So Shane, we have a few questions that we wanted to ask you. The recent research shows that social media and technology are actually creating a dynamic where children feel less connected and more isolated than ever before. Knowing this, what could you say to parents in terms of understanding the message that they should be sharing with their children about social media?
It's a great question and a very timely one too. I feel like every single day there are more and more kids being born with devices in their hands. And I want to start by saying there isn't a direct issue with technology per se. You know, technology isn't the bad guy in this situation. It's kind of like how it's completely okay for you to have a glass of wine once in a while. Doesn't make you an alcoholic, of course, right? But too much of anything, good or bad, can be an issue. And right now we're in a crazy time of unbalance, especially among teenagers. Teens are very much addicted to technology. And when you're experiencing any kind of addiction, it cuts you off. You know, it is isolating and you're lacking those genuine connections with others, right? It's also really important to acknowledge that adults are just as addicted as many teens, right? Absolutely, of course. We all are guilty of being lost in technology or our own busyness. And I think it's really important for us to kind of check ourselves, because how can we criticize our youth for constantly being on their devices when we aren't offering them anything better in person? So I think the first step, the first thing that parents could do is really show up, be present yourself, and offer that connection, because teens are craving it just like we all are. I mean, it's human nature, human intuition to want to connect with other people. And while technology can be great and social media has its moments and its time, it's really falsifying that connection, right? When you're logging on to any device, to any social media network, you're not diving deep. It's skimming the surface of a relationship, but there's no depth, there's no connection. The only thing you're actually connecting with is the screen itself, right? So as adults, we need to show up, be present for our kids, and offer that emotional connection that they can't get online.
Thank you so much. That's really an important thing for us all to be thinking about right now. What about the kids that we see so often who are really anxious about wanting to be able to connect with others, but don't really understand how to start that process, how to engage with other kids? What recommendations could you give to kids like that who are looking for the connection but don't know where to start?
For me, what changed my world entirely and the trajectory of my life was simply getting involved in my school and community. You know, as a teenager, you're actually surrounded by opportunities, even though sometimes it feels like you have nothing to do but schoolwork. Really, when you open your eyes to it, and it took me a moment, to actually realize the abundance of opportunities, but as soon as I plugged in to my community, everything inside of me shifted. And the more you get involved, the more you're meeting like-minded kids, the more you are in safe spaces that you can actually start connecting, start talking offline in real life, and create those genuine connections, feel them. And I find that to be something I crave now, being in any kind of environment with like-minded people that are there for me, have my back, and also challenge me, right? Some of my greatest friends of all time I met in those kinds of circles at, a volunteer project or in a club or council or on a team. And high schools are so abundant with those opportunities. And the great thing is, if you have an interest and there isn't a club or a council for it, you can be the one to start that club or council or initiative or project. So getting involved, I think that's the first step for anyone out there, but especially a teenager looking to make more friends or drive more meaningful connections, social connections, practice their communication skills, build up your confidence. A catch-all for all those amazing soft skills that we all need and we all want our kids to have growing up is simply plugging into your community, getting involved, whether it's volunteering once a week or signing up for clubs or councils or trying out for a team or the school musical, finding whatever fits right with you, feels good to you, and just plugging in.
That's great. Thank you so much. So, you're talking a lot about plugging yourself in. Here at OMETS, we work a lot in conjunction with schools to help them develop programs that can increase kids' social skills. Are there any specific programs or strategies that you can think of that schools should be instituting to help with that process?
I'm a big fan of processes and systems, and I think this is one of the most simplest to implement. It starts with listening.
Right.
A lot of times, especially as leaders of organizations or teachers at the front of a classroom, sometimes we forget that our number one job is to be a leading learner and a leading listener in any kind of environment like that, whether you're a CEO of a company or a teacher or principal, right? You need to open yourself up, be open-minded, and be an expert listener more than anything else. I think the more that we listen, the more we'll be able to build relatability and really be there for our kids.
So it's about really listening to what it is the kids need rather than just plugging in the programs we think are going to be effective.
Right, what the kids need, what the kids want. Yeah, what you around a boardroom table think, oh, the kids are going to love this, might not fly so well. But the more you listen, you engage with them, kids want a seat at that table desperately. One of the reasons we find volunteering so effective, and part of the reason Count Me In has grown so much. Our pilot project jumped from 50 to 400 kids in 1 year, and fast forward a decade, we're now at 10 million. And that's because we're giving kids a seat at the table. We listen more than anything else. And so students see a piece of themselves in each of our programs. And so they feel ownership over it. So of course they're going to talk about it and share with their friends. And for the first number of years, we didn't spend a dime on any marketing. It was all word of mouth, kids getting excited. And even now, today, our marketing is very much based around harnessing that word of mouth, natural marketing, natural advertising that kids are doing free for us because they love the programs and they love what they're helping us build. So the more you're showing up as a teacher, principal, executive director, and actually listening, the more you're going to learn, the more your programs will be on point, the more you'll build something that students want to show up to, want to support. And it can start with just knowing one thing about a kid in your classroom, right? Do they have a brother? Do they have a sister?
Right.
How's their home life? Did they have breakfast this morning? Right? Are they into arts? Are they on the basketball team? Well, one thing about each of your students, start there. Start small.
So I love that message of having a seat at the table and really paying attention to the small details of what matters in kids' lives to them. That's such an important piece.
It's the little things,
Absolutely.
right? It's what we all want,
Yeah.
right? You don't need to know everything about me, but the small things, that's what matter most.
So that you know that I care to know you.
I feel value, right? When you see me, when you really see me and I feel like I'm being seen and heard, there's a feeling inside of value where I feel validated. I feel like I'm worth time and space in your life. And so that gives me permission to value myself.
So important. So that's in terms of school. What about for parents at home? What can parents be doing at home to help kids create these communities and develop these connections?
What kids want more than anything else from their parents right now, over the last 8 years of my work with teens, I've seen this growing disconnect, and what teens are really hungry for, desperately hungry for their parents to show up and openly listen to them, honestly be open-minded when it comes to listening to them, and show up with true empathy. Kids want to be seen and heard, and I know that can be awkward. I know conversations aren't always fun and easy to have with your kids, but there's also something like a little hack that I've learned. Teenagers, in their minds, any silence is an awkward silence, so they're going to try and fill it naturally.
Right.
Which means if you're at the dinner table and you have a no device policy at the dinner table that applies to everyone, you're just sitting there eating, and you're not asking them questions, you're not drilling, tell me about Susie, how's your friend Bobby, like what's going on in school. If you're not badgering them with questions and you just sit there and listen to the silence, they're going to want to fill it because they're going to feel awkward. So start there, sitting down without any distractions and letting them take the floor, let them lead the way, because they're not going to feel attacked, they're not going to feel like you're pressuring them. Teenagers so often feel victimized, or they victimize themselves. But if you just sit and offer a safe space and have that open-mindedness that they know they can come to you, they're going to start opening up. And you start small baby steps, building that trust, building that open relationship, and it's just going to flourish and take off from there.
So that's wonderful. A great, easy first step is be there, be present, and open up the table to some silence. Let them do the filling in.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Shane, for being here with us and for sharing this wonderful experience. We really appreciate it, and we're so excited to have you speak to everybody this evening.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me
My
again.
pleasure.